interesting fraud examiner masterclass, where we are going to be speaking about very important subjects related to contract and procurement fraud. So when we are speaking inside your organization about how your organization are handling the purchasing process, the contracting, dealing with the different vendors, we need to understand from internal audit perspective, from compliance perspective, from fraud risk management perspective, what are the different fraud schemes that can happen when you are going and buying your products, when you are receiving the products from the vendor, and when you are handling the payment to the vendor, to ensure that the whole process is done without any manipulation. So let's understand the basic concepts. What can happen, what can go wrong when you are doing the purchasing. But before that, we need to understand what are the steps in any procurement process. The first step is what we call need recognition. This is where the organization, they are going to define what are their needs. They are going to go and discuss with the management about the aspect that they need for their projects, about what are the specifications exactly for that project, what is the quality they require, what is their price range, what is their budget. Then after that, they are going to look at the awarding criteria. Based on what kind of requirement or criteria they are going to award the vendor. Are they looking for a local vendor or looking for international vendor? Are they looking for certain brands? Are they trying to source it from certain countries? Do they have any additional specification related to the qualification and experience required by the vendor? For example, the vendor had more than 5 years experience in this domain. The vendor is dealing with similar industries. They can look at conflict of interest. They can look at all these aspects. The next stage is going and do what we call bid solicitation. In this stage, the organization is going to go and say, we would like to actually go and request proposals for the different vendors. We are going to open the tender offer, and then the vendors are going to prepare their offers, and then they are going to submit their offer to the organization. In the submission stage, some organizations in the old days, they use what we call the sealed box, where vendors, they come with their sealed envelope, drop their sealed offer inside the sealed box, and later they are going to open the box. But today we are living in the digital age. With the digital age, today most of the vendors are submitting their tender offer through the online. They are going to go and they are going to look at whatever system you have. They are going to look at the requirement and they go and they submit it electronically. The same thing, the purchasing manager or the organization, they are going to go look at the system and see all the tender offers that the vendor submitted and see based on that which vendor is providing the best price at the best quality. So it's happening today more in an automated way. But we are going to come back later and speak about what are the risks there, because now there are so many controls issue in case you don't have the proper system in place to guarantee no one can access that system and do manipulation. After that, the next stage is where the organization are going to look at all the offers. They are going to see, the vendors, they are going to see their specification, they are going to see the price, and based on that, they are going to decide who is the vendor that's most suitable for them, based on not only the price, based on the quality, based on the experience, based on who can meet their needs. After that, they are going to award that vendor the contract. They are going to, it can be a committee, or it can be the purchasing department with the discussion with the management, with the different parties inside the organization, deciding who is going to have the winning bid. And after that, the last stage is what we call performance and invoicing. In this stage, the vendor is going to come, is going to deliver the goods, is going to perform the service. We are going to evaluate, did they perform it as per the specification? Are they actually delivering what they have promised based on the contract we have with them? Did we receive the goods based on the quality and quantity that we require from them meeting the specification? And later, they are going to send us the invoice where we are going to go and make sure that the invoice is matching with the receiving report, matching with the contract, matching with the purchase order. And after that, we are going to make the payment to the vendor. So this, in general, these are the 4 steps when we are speaking about any purchasing process inside the organization. Now, what we need to discuss here, because today we are speaking about the fraud schemes, what can go wrong? What can happen? The first thing, we need to speak about the contractors. Sometimes contractors, they can have collusion between each other. This is where the contractors, they are working against our organization and they are trying to actually overcharge us for the goods. So the contractors, they can come together and they say, hey, how about we go all fix the price against this company? Or how about we decide who's going to win the contract? We have an agreement. So one of the first fraud schemes that can happen is what we called complementary bidding. What's the meaning complementary bidding? The vendors, rather than they go and they submit a genuine bidding where they are submitting lowest price possible for them to win the contract, they agree. One person will submit high price and the rest, they are not interested in the contract. They just submit complementary bidding, fake bids, token bid. The meaning I will submit very high bid and the rest they will submit just token bid. They submit a very, very high bid just for them to be able to submit. So the organization will have 3 tender offers or 5 tender offers, because sometimes organization, they say, we are required for any tender offer 3 or 5 offers for us to be able to close this tender offer. So I will submit high bid and the rest they will submit fake bid, token bid, just for me to win the contract. So in that way, the organization will have the 3 bids and they can close the bidding process. So this is the first one, complementary bidding. The second one, it can be a collusion between contractors by doing what? By dividing the market between each other. So in that way, they say, okay, you are going to take this country, I will take this country, or you are going to take this territory, I will take this territory. So they can divide the market between each other, which is an interesting way. So in that way, for all the projects in that country, you will only win. For all this project in this country, I will only win. Or they can do what we call bid suppression. They say, okay, for these contracts, please don't bid on it, I will take. For the other contract, I will not bid it on, you take. So this is based on certain contractor rather than territories or countries. Or they can have different schemes where they will say, okay, how about we do bid rotation? What's the meaning rotation? This year, I will win the contract. Next year, you will win the contract. And the year after, the other vendor will win the contract. So we decide each year who will win the contract. So we do rotation. All of us, we are interested in the client. Every year, one of us will win the client. And of course, they will submit high bids. So the question here you need to ask as anti-fraud professional, as internal auditor, as a person working in compliance, what are the red flags that we need to look at when we are speaking about these types of schemes? The red flags that you need to look at are related to all the vendors submitting high bid. So the question, why all of them are submitting high bid? That's something unusual. Or you can see one person submitting the last bid and he's winning the contract. So how come he's submitting the last bid in the last minute and he's winning the contract? The meaning, before he went and submitted the bid, he called all his friends, all the other contractors, and asked them, okay, what is your price? What is your price? And then he submitted the lowest price, just $1 lower than all of them, the last person. So in that way, no one else will submit. So that's red flag. Or we can see that there is a rotation between them. Every year, one of them is winning the contract. It looks like they are rotating between them, or they do subcontracting. The winning contractor, he will go and give the contractor to someone who's losing. So that way they have an agreement between each other. They are outsourcing the contract. This is why so many organizations, they say you are not allowed to subcontract the tender offer, the project, unless you have an approval, prior approval from the organization. And we need to qualify that vendor as well, that you are going to subcontract the work for him, and you can subcontract the whole project. Some government, they say 20%. So there are so many other red flags that you need to look at when you are speaking about that. But we are not going to cover it here all in this session. This session is only around 15 minutes to cover the basic understanding of the different fraud schemes. In case you are interested in more deep understanding of the different fraud schemes, and how can you go and look at this contracting process, look at the aspect of bribery, of corruption, of investigation, of the proper internal controls that can help you in preventing fraud from happening in the contract and procurement process, we have a special course that is going to be done for you. And this is an ACFE authorized course in the GCC, and we are going to do it in Malaysia later. So this course is going to be delivered here in Dubai, in Burj Al Arab, and it's going to be a 2-day course. You are going to get 16 CBEs for it, and you are going to learn all these aspects in details. I can't tell you how powerful is the material that ACFE had created for this course. You are going to get understanding of all the aspects related to procurement process, related to the legal elements of fraud, related to contracting, related to understanding the bribery and corruption, what are the proper way of investigating fraud related to purchasing process, figuring out what kind of controls you need to implement inside the organization, and understanding exactly all the red flags that you need to look at related to this fraud. So you can click on the link below and register if you are interested in this course, and join us in Burj Al Arab face-to-face, or joining us virtually. You can join the course from anywhere in the world in case you can't fly over to Dubai. But in case you missed this course, later in the year in October, we are going to have another course happening in Malaysia. So you can go to Malaysia, attend it face-to-face, or you can attend it virtually as well in Malaysia. So let's go back to what we are speaking about here. The second way where contractors, they can actually do fraud against us is by what? By working with one of the employees inside our organization. So here we call it collusion between a contractor and between an employee working in the purchasing department. It can be the project manager. It can be someone working in the committee responsible for deciding the winning bid. So what can happen? The vendor can pay money, a bribe, give gifts to someone working inside our organization for him, number one, to manipulate the specification. So in that way, the vendor will give a payment to an employee, and this employee will draft the specification, will write the specification in a way that will give unfair advantage to that vendor. So in that way, they say, we need a vendor who's operating in Italy because he knows only that vendor is operating in Italy. Or we need a vendor who provides certain specification because he knows that his friend is only the person who can provide these specifications. So this is one of the way for them to manipulate. They can draft what we call narrow specification. Or they can do the opposite. They can draft a very vague or broad specification. So in that case, they will allow vendor who's not qualified to qualify. So for example, their friend, he's operating, but he doesn't have all the specification to meet that contract. So the person who's drafting the specification, they will make it very vague or broad. So that way, his friend who's not qualified, now that he can qualify and he can submit for that tender offer. Another aspect where it can happen is what we call bid manipulation. Here, where the vendor, they pay money to someone responsible in the bidding process inside your organization for him to go to the system and to say, okay, how can we manipulate the bidding process? How can we go and look at all the prices that other vendors submitted? And I just give a call to my friend and just pick up the phone and call my friend, say, hi, my friend. Do you know, I think for you, you need to submit this price for you to win the project. So because the person who's working inside the organization, he got access to the system and he can go and inform his friend about all the prices, all the specification, and tell him what is the best price he can submit so he will be the lowest so he can win the contract. So be careful of someone inside your organization communicating with the vendors before the awarding process. This is one of the red flags. We can see close relationship between a person working inside our organization on the project or in the purchasing department and the vendor who's submitting. This close relationship should start after he will win the contract, not before. Especially when we are still in the tendering offer. That it's a red flag. Also, we need to see that this person who's responsible for the bidding process, they can actually go to the system and they can manipulate it in other ways. They can go to the system and they can say, how about I go change the prices of other vendors? If I have access to the system and I have authority to change the information, I can go and I change the information, change the prices for other vendors. Or I can simply go and delete one of the tender offers if there are no controls. Some organization, the way the submission will be done in so many companies and countries I knew about, they do it by email, by Excel. So you are going to go or you upload documents. So in that case, after that, the purchasing department will go download the documents and create a file on the server and they have all the documents. So I can go there, change the information inside the Excel, change the prices. I can go delete the proposal that was submitted, or I can change the proposal completely. So this is what happens, especially when we're speaking about big contracts, oil and gas, military contract, a production contract, big projects. There are so many manipulations that can happen in the process. Or the other thing, the person responsible there, they can disqualify the bid for any reason. They can look at the tender offer and they say, oh, this tender offer was submitted in US dollars. But we are in UAE, we are handling all our tender offers in dirham. Why he didn't submit it in dirham? So because the currency of the tender offer is not matching the specification. C is not, the products are not matching the specification. The currency or sometimes the language. In some Arab country, you need to submit the proposal in Arabic rather than English. So because you are not matching the language, the currency, any other aspect, for any reason, they can disqualify your bid, even you have the lowest price. So this is one of the aspects that, this employee who's corrupted inside the organization, they can do. So there are so many ways for someone inside the organization to go and influence the purchasing process. So what are the red flags that we need to look at? We need to look if someone inside the organization, inside the committee, or inside the purchasing department, they have super user, they have ability to go into the system and do so many aspects. Also, like what we discussed, we need to see if our purchasing manager receiving any gifts, if they have a close relationship with the vendor, or if they have any conflict of interest. Maybe the vendor is his cousin, maybe it's his friend, so conflict of interest disclosure is very important. Another aspect where manipulation can happen in the process is when we are going to go and actually decide later who is the winning bid. So now we receive the bids based on the needs specification done properly. There is no manipulation in the submission process. Now we can come to the awarding committee, the committee who's going to decide who's the winning bid. Here, there's a chance for the vendor to bribe one of the members of this committee or to influence one of the individuals who is involved in determining who's the vendor, and in that way, he will be able to win the contract. So this is also very critical to ensure that this committee, they are handling things in the proper way to not allow anyone to influence. So what is the best practices here? The best practices is when you are actually submitting the tender offers, you tell them we need to have technical submission, submitting the technical information related to specification, qualification, without revealing even the name of the organization, just technical. So in that way you say, oh, here is the proposal technical, you submit it without revealing the name of the organization. Sometimes you have to reveal the name of the organization because this is one of the determining aspects, so it depends. And on the other side, you submit pricing offer, you submit financial offer. So you have technical offer and you have financial offer. In the financial offer, you are not going to submit technical information. You submit what are the costs, the prices, the charges, all the financial figures. In that case, what will happen? The committee who's responsible for determining the specification will look at the specification without being influenced by the price. Because we don't want our organization to go with the lowest vendor, the one offering the lowest price, but actually he's not qualified just because his price low. They say you can buy anything in the world at any cost. But at the end, is it going to perform or not? Is it going to work or not? Is it going to help us or is it going to cause issues later? So the technical committee will go look at all the specification, determining which vendors they are meeting our specification, and they can give us priority saying, okay, this vendor is number one, this vendor number two, this is number three. Then after that, the committee responsible for looking at the financial to see what is the cost, is this within our budget? And this committee will look at some red flags. What are some red flags? We can see if there are something called outliers, like someone for a project that usually the budget for it around $1 million, $1.5 million, submitting an offer that he will give us this project for only 100,000. How come 100,000? Usually the cost, it will be like around 700,000. So if someone giving us a very cheap price, very low price, we need to understand if this price is so low, the meaning there's an aspect, there's something going on. So in that way, we need to look and say, no, I don't think this person is realistic with his price. And I know so many construction projects. I met with the managers who build buildings, and he told me, yeah, when we actually submitting the offer, we know that our cost of building that building, our cost is around 10 million for building that building. And the company is expecting for them to pay around 15 million or 20 million for that building. But when we submitted the offer to do it for 8 million. We are losing around 2 million. And I said, why? He said, because we want to win the contract. Regardless of anything, we want to get that client, because once we get that client, we will be able to have it as a reference for us to get future clients to say, wow, we did this project for that client. So sometimes this is what happened. The vendor will submit a very low bid because they want to win the client. But the question here, is it recommended to go to a vendor who's dying to win our project at a very low cost? The answer is no, because he's not motivated to deliver properly. We are afraid he will get it and he knows he's losing on the project. So what he will do? He will do the minimum possible. He will meet the minimum specification. He will deliver it whatever, because he doesn't make any money from the project. So in that way, he's not motivated to work and deliver the project at the highest level. At the end, he just wants to have it as a reference in his portfolio. So this is where one of the aspects, we don't want to go with something very low. At the same time, we don't want to go with something very high. Sometimes some vendors, they submit outrageous price because they can. If you are working with some of these, consulting firms, the big consulting firms, for a project that usually it will need like $200,000. They will submit 1 million. They say, we have amazing consultant, expert, international consultant. They can, because of their name. if I am a big consulting firm, if I'm a big accounting firm, I can submit a very high price and I tell them, you want us, this is what you pay for. So also we don't want to go and say, we are going to go with this organization because their name is very important. At the end of the day, we need someone who can help us achieve our objective. Look at the technical, not only look at who's the firm. Is this organization capable? They have the experience to meet our specification. Even maybe it's not a big international organization. Maybe it is not well-known organization, but they have the qualification and the specification and the expertise to deliver on the project at a reasonable price. This is why the committee will exclude offers that are very low and offers that are very high. This is why they create a range. They say, as long as the project, it's between 1 and 2 million, we can look at these financial offers. So now we have the technical committee decided all the offers based on who's meeting the specification. Then the financial committee say to which offers they are actually financially visible for us to go for them. Now we do the match. Now the two committees will come together and they say, okay, these are the technical, these are the financial. Now let's see which one is the most suitable for us. Not all the time the cheapest price. We decided based on the technical that vendor number 1, 2, 3. Then we look at the prices. We discover vendor number 1, he is the second best price. He is offering a price, but it's not the cheapest. He's the second cheapest. So in that way, what we go, we say, okay, well, our organization, they feel comfortable going with him. We know that he can deliver and his price looks reasonable. So we go for it. So this is how the process will be happening. But in case there are corrupted individuals in the process, receiving a bribe from the vendor, or they have conflict of interest, the vendor is their friend, or maybe the vendor, it's their company. Sometimes what will happen, the purchasing manager will go and create a shell company and will submit on that tender offer from the shell company, the fake company, hoping that he will win the contract, then he will subcontract the project to another firm. So this is why we need to go and ensure in the process, when we are receiving all the offers, are we requesting all these vendors to submit their trade license, to fill up the questionnaires, to ensure that we know all the information about who is the owner of this firm, who is the manager of this firm, where this firm registered, who's handling the operation, to look at the address of the firm. Sometimes the address of the firm is the same address of our employee. So this is why if you have a sophisticated system inside your organization, they can look at automating what we call the fraud risk management process to say, okay, we need to do matching between the name of the vendor, the name of the owner of the vendor, and the manager of the vendor with the names of our employees. We need to go and not match it maybe with the name also of our employees. We need to match it with the last name of our employee. Maybe it's his wife submitting, maybe his cousin submitting. So in that way, we need to look if there is any conflict of interest. Also, we need to go and match the addresses of the vendor with the addresses of our employees to make sure they are not the same, because sometimes an employee will create a shell company and will use his home address as the address of the company. So there are so many aspects we need to look at, and we need to automate the process. In organization, automating your transaction and having real-time monitoring is very critical. This is why we are really proud to work with Mozon. Mozon, they have AI, artificial intelligence solution that can help you automate your fraud risk management process inside your organization in so many aspects. Monitoring real-time transaction in the system and ensuring that you have all the proper risk measures. So in that way, when you are dealing with a vendor, you are dealing with client, you are dealing with anyone, you can go and compare this with all the lists that are available, looking at their geographical location where they are submitting the information from, understanding their risk score. And they have a focal solution which can deliver all this for you. You can check the link below for them, and you can go and see and experience all their solution and contact them directly if you are interested. And we would like to thank them for sponsoring this special session from Burj Al Arab for us to deliver it to you in a very unique way. Now, let's go back to understanding exactly what will happen after the committee will decide who's the winning bid. After the committee will decide the winning bid, now they are going to call the contractor. They are going to give a call to this contractor saying, hello, how are you? Congratulations. We would like to inform you that you win the tender offer. Sometimes this will happen, but sometimes some individuals inside the organization, they manipulate the process. Rather than you go call the contractor and tell him, congratulations, you win, organization will do what we call negotiation. There are negotiations that can be done in the purchasing department in the correct way, and there are negotiations that can be done in the purchasing department in fraudulent way. So what is the correct way? First, let's speak about the correct way. The correct way, if you are looking at the aspect and you say, okay, well, we have different vendors submitting to our organization, and we can see that 3 vendors, they are perfect. They meet the specification. All of them, we can go with them. And we can see their prices. They are very close to each other. So we can see the price here is 1 million, here is 900,000, here is 1,100,000. Okay, so all of them close. So which one we should go for? Someone will say, we go with the cheapest. Yes, you go with the cheapest, that's good. But how about we give them another chance for them to give us a better price? So for us as an organization, we can lower their price a little bit. And in that way, we can save some money. So the proper negotiation approach is like this. You go approach the 3 vendors and you call them. So you call the first vendor. You say, hi, congratulations. You have been selected to be one of our vendors that may win this project. But what we need you to do, we need you to give us your final and best offer. Because as of now, we have 3 vendors we have selected, and all of them, they meet our specification, but now it comes out to the price. So please try to give us, based on the same specification you have submitted, the lowest best price possible. We call the first vendor, we call the second vendor, we call the third vendor. And now we give them the chance for them to submit their final and best offer. Once they submit their final and best offer, someone will submit, for example, the 1 and 10 million, he will submit 1 million. The 900, he will submit 850. And the 1 million, he will submit, for example, 820. Then we say, okay, this guy will submit 820, which is they went a little bit low. He is, as we said, he's qualified, he's good. We want to do business with him. We go with him. So this is the proper way of doing negotiation, where we don't allow manipulation to happen. But let me speak about the fraudulent way, where someone can actually do it to take advantage of the process. The process happened like this. I call who? I call the highest bidder out of these 3. So in that way, the person in submitting 1.5 million and 1,100,000, another one submitting 1 million, another one submitting 900. I call the person who submitted 1,100,000, and I do this. I say, hi, yes, sir, how are you? Yes, our committee had selected the 3 lowest bid, and you are one of them. But unfortunately, you are not the lowest. The lowest price is 900. Why you are sharing with him private information? That's not a good approach. So you say, the lowest one is 900. Now, what we want you to do, we want you to try to submit lower than 900 if you want to win this contract. Are you interested? Okay, think about it and come back to it. So then I finished. Then I contact who? I contact the second lowest. I call him. I say, hi, sir, how are you? Yeah, you submitted 1 million, but our lowest bid is 900. Can you submit lower than 900? If you submit lower than 900, we actually can consider you. All right. You wait for a while, then you get a call from one of them. Hi, yes. Oh, you go for 850? Okay, great. Okay, let's wait a second, because we are waiting for the next other vendors, and we come back to you. Then after that, now he went for 850. Now he is the lowest. So you call now the person who's supposed to win the contract, which is the 900. You call him. You say, sir, congratulations. You are the lowest bid. You submitted 900 out of the 3 vendors we have. But we're not going to give you the contract, because we have contacted other vendors and we told them about your price. Oops. It's private information you should not share. But we contacted them. We told them about your price. We disclosed pricing. And now we would like you to submit lower than 900, because now the lowest bid from your friend is 850. Oh, you go for 800? Okay, great. I close. I call the other guy. Hey, you go for 850. He went for 800. You go lower, 750? Great. Oh, I got a call. No, sir, now 900, 800 is not going to work. Can you go for 600? 600? What are you doing here? What is this process that you are doing? Going and disclosing prices, negotiating, squeezing the vendor, trying to lower their price. At the end, the vendor can go low, and he may lose on the project just because he wants to win the contract, and because now he's exposed with his pricing to the competition. But what do you think will happen on the delivery aspect? He's going to squeeze you in the delivery. He's going to give you non-performing goods and services. He is going to give you lowest staff. He is going to not meet the specification, because at the end of the day, you destroyed him during the tender offering process, and you squeezed him, and you did all this manipulation. This is one aspect. But another aspect, This can allow a fraudster inside the organization the ability to disclose the prices to his friend. So his friend will submit the lowest bid and win the contract. So one aspect of it, it's not a good business practice, but I know so many organizations, they do it to squeeze the vendor. The other aspect, this will allow fraudster to be able to manipulate the process, saying that they are benefiting the organization by lowering the price, but no, they are sharing the information so their vendor, their friend will submit the lowest offer. So this is one of the aspects that you need to be careful with it when you are actually doing this process and deciding who is the person who is going to win the contract. This is a very important aspect to focus on. Another aspect to consider, which is also a very important aspect we need to look at, is we need to go and say, when you are actually going and submitting these offers and awarding the best person the contract, later, are they doing what we call the performance proper? Are they delivering based on the specification? Are they meeting the criteria? Are they delivering based on the time frame? Sometimes it's not only about the cost, sometimes it's about time. If we went with a contractor, he's the lowest cost, but he delayed the project, that will cause big issue for us. So quality is important as well as time. So this is why we need to go and do what we call performance auditing. We need to go and examine this vendor. We need to go do inspection to make sure whatever goods and services we received is the same one listed in the contract, the same specification. We need to ensure he's not doing what we call non-performing goods and services. He's giving us a product substitute. We requested certain product and he's delivering substandard product. Or we requested high-level staff, we requested senior manager, senior executive, certain expertise, and he's giving us junior, he's giving us low level of labor to work. So we need to look at this aspect as well. This is a very important issue to look at. We need to go do an inspection to make sure that the vendor is meeting the project based on the proper time frame. Is he delivering based on the specification good? Is he meeting the time frame good? Is he actually working based on the plan that we had for him? And here there are so many things can happen because some organization, they are going to only do the performance auditing after the project finished. So now how do you know? Give you an example. Someone decided to go and hire a contractor to build a building. If you do the inspection after the building finished, how are you going to know? You are going to come and see, oh, the floor is done properly. Yes, done properly. But how do you know what happened under the floor? What kind of material he used? The only way for you need to crack the floor, or you need to go and try to examine what's under the ground. That's difficult. What you need to do while the project is being delivered, during that project, you need to look at what material is he using for the building. What kind of ground he is doing before he will lay out the full ground. Is he actually doing it properly without any gap? So later we don't discover that some of the floor, there are gaps under it and the ground will break down. What kind of material is he using in the walls to ensure he's using the proper material, especially we are in Middle East, the internal wall and external wall. In the external wall, they need to have isolation to isolate cold and heat from entering our house. If he will replace just a couple of these blocks in the wall with normal blocks, this is going to cause a big issue. All the heat and the cold is going to enter. So this is why we don't do it after the project. While the project is happening, we need to have inspection coming and making sure everything delivered as per the plan, step by step. Also, we need to look at what he's claiming he's giving us compared to what he's giving us. If we are receiving a laptop, for example, or receiving any electronics, we don't only look to make sure that electronics and the specification matching. We need to look at the sub-specification. What's the meaning sub-specification? We requested this PC. When we requested this PC, we told him, or this MacBook, we told him we need to have, for example, 16 gigabyte RAM. So 16 gigabyte RAM, this is the memory. Inside most of these devices, maybe they will have 4 slots related to the memory. Each one can have up to 32. So we requested 16. Now, the proper way for him to deliver it is to give us the server, the PC, with the 4 slots having 16 gigabyte in one slot. So if we want to upgrade later, we can buy another 16. We want to upgrade later, we can buy another 16. But some of them, what they do, because they want to trick us, to cheat us, they will give us the PC, the server, the laptop with 4. So now he's giving us the 16, but he's giving us 16 as 4 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte. That will kill the memory. So after you go and use it, you notice that the memory is slow because the load is distributed among separate memory slots, memory cards. Then you call him, you say, we look at the specification. Yes, you give us 16 and it's matching, but it looks a little bit slow. Can you actually give us another 16 so we can upgrade it from 16 to 32? He said, yes, but we have an issue. I said, what's the issue? He said, well, when I give it to you, I give it to you 444. So now if you want to upgrade to 32, you need to take all these 444, throw them in the trash, and now you need to buy from me 32. Now he will make more money by sending me more memory cards. And at the same time, I lost the money that I have. And I had to upgrade for no reason, because if he from the beginning gave me the 16, the server or the laptop will work perfect. This is the challenge. Sometimes the specification is being delivered on paper is matching the specification on the project. But when we look at the how they are handled, they are not actually to the best advantage or special functionality of the business. This is why always, for us as auditor, compliance professional, we don't understand the technical aspect of the business. What we need to do, we need to hire a technical person for him to go and assess and do the inspection from technical standpoint to ensure that the person do it properly. I did a training recently for a very international car factory. They are producing massive cars and they are doing maintenance and insurance on the cars as well. The head of internal audit, he said, yeah, recently we hired an engineer who was working in the production line related to these cars to work in the internal audit department. And I asked him why. He got no auditing background. He said, yes, but his role is to go with us when we are doing the audit, and when we are dealing with the insurance company, when we are dealing with the maintenance department. See, because they don't understand the aspect of maintenance. They outsource the work to some contractor. They are doing the maintenance. They have some work done by the insurance. The insurance say, yes, the claim done in this way. The maintenance guy, they say, yes, we did the maintenance. The factories that they are working with, they say, yes, we manufacture based on specification. They need to go, and this technical person can assess from technical standpoint what's going on. Is it done properly or not? Is there anything going on? So doing inspection is very important to highlight the red flags that the vendor, they can have when he's delivering the goods. And always the vendor, they are motivated to what? To deliver lower quality. Why? Because they say, if the customer is not noticing, I give him lower quality. Why should I give him high quality? What is the advantage for me to give him high quality? I will give him lower quality. Now, if he will not manipulate with the quality, with the performance, what he will manipulate with? He will manipulate with the invoicing process, because the next stage is he need to focus on the invoicing process. He need to say, okay, from invoicing process standpoint, what can I do to take advantage of the client? Maybe I will deliver to him 20 boxes, but I send him an invoice for 21. And if the customer will not notice, we say, okay, so he will pay. And this is what will happen. Some organization, unfortunately, they are going to send the receiving report and receive the invoice and process it without looking at what they receive is matching the invoice or not. They will match the receiving report with the purchasing order, but they don't do three-way matching. The proper way to do it, you need to match the purchasing order with the receiving report with the invoice to make sure that we have three-way matching. Plus, you need to match it with the contract that we have signed with the vendor. Sometimes the purchasing order will be issued different than the contract as a mistake by the purchasing department. So this is why we need to make sure also the purchasing order is approved by the purchasing department and is done according to the contract we have signed with the vendor after he got this tender offer. Now, the vendor can take advantage of another thing. Sometimes there are additional costs. For example, the vendor may say in the contract that delivering the goods, each item I charge you 1,000 dirham for it, and the delivery included if you order 10 items or more. But see, this is written in the contract. No one is going to go back read the contract. So then you order 20 items. So you order 20 items, he will charge you 20,000 plus delivery. So he charge you an allowable cost. This cost should not be charged. If no one noticed, he will pay for it. No, okay, correct. Based on the contract, the item 1,000 and plus delivery. Yes, in the contract says the delivery is going to be 700. So we pay the delivery. No one will go look at the terms and condition in a small font written somewhere saying if the item is more than 10 items, you don't have to pay delivery, it's free of charge. But if you notice it and you contact the vendor and you say, hey vendor, what's going on? we notice that you are charging us for delivery. The vendor will say, oh, I'm so sorry, it's a mistake. Yes, usually we charge you less than 10 items, but we forgot. So we are so sorry for that we have to charge you. So they will actually remove that charge. But if you don't notice, you will pay. Or the vendor, they may try to manipulate the labor cost. So in that way, this can happen when you are having labor-intense work. It can be construction. It can be even in making movies. In making movies, the director will go and have all this extra for him to do a war scene. Then he will make them change their clothes and do another war scene. And he will tell the company, we had 100 extra to do all these war scenes, 50 here and 50 here. But actually, no, they are the same 50. He did one scene here, he made them change their clothes, they did another scene here. But he charged the production company for 100 extra. So it can be a labor cost mischarge. So he can do material cost mischarge, he can do labor cost mischarge, or he can charge you an allowable cost. So this is why your job inside the organization to ensure that in the finance department, they are looking at these invoices, looking at any red flags of these vendors who are submitting invoices not matching the purchase order and the contract inside the organization, or maybe not matching the receiving report. We received 20 items, they are invoicing us for 21. Why? Sometimes this is what will happen. They invoice us for item different than the item we received. So in that way, for example, we received 100 laptops, they invoice us for 100 laptops, but different specification. So we need to tell them, wait, yes, we ordered these laptops and this laptop. This time we received laptop A and you are invoicing us for laptop B. They are not matching. But if no one noticed, it will be processed. And don't forget, vendors, they understand exactly your internal processes, or they paid money to someone in the finance department. And this person told them, if you submit it this way, if you do this way, no one is doing three-way matching, no one is verifying, no one is checking. So I'm responsible for processing invoice. I process it normally, no one will notice. So they can influence not only the person in the bidding process and the person in the awarding process, but also they can influence the person in the receiving part, the guy who's signing that the performance was delivered as per the specification, even if they are not delivering based on the specification, or they can influence the person who is handling the invoicing process, where they are going to go and make sure that he will process their invoice, even the invoices are not done properly. So this is another aspect we need to look at. This is why when we speak about contract and procurement fraud, there are so many important aspects related to corruption. There can be a kickback, there can be a bribery, it can be commercial bribery if you are bribing someone in businesses, it can be official bribery if you are bribing someone in government to sell them some products, solution, even military equipment. And it can be also related to what we called economic extortion. It can be someone demanding payment from you. So imagine you get a call from a person in the purchasing department saying, what do you want? Look what he's saying. The guy in the purchasing department telling me that if I don't pay him $500,000, he will not make me win the contract. Even I have the lowest price. So this, we call it economic extortion. Someone actually not allowing me to win the contract that I'm qualified and I have the best price for it, unless I pay him money, or he will disqualify my bid. This is why if the organization is corrupted that we are doing business with, that's also can be an issue. At the same time, one of the biggest issues when we look at in the purchasing process is conflict of interest. The guys inside the organization, they would like to award the contracts to their friends, to their family members, to their business partners, or they create their own companies. The CEO, he will create his own company and he will buy from his own company and benefit. So this is where also a very red flag to see if there's any family member or the CEO is actually part of the process, where the CEO of the company and the vendors is owned by the CEO. And the customers are owned by the cousin of the CEO. So now, as long as it's disclosed, see, conflict of interest is all about the concept of disclosure. If the CEO disclosed that actually I am the vendor and I would like to submit for this tender offer and the company approved, they said no issue, this is okay. And sometimes it happened in Middle East in family business. In family business, the dad is the chairman, the CEO is the son, and after the sister, she got a vendor company who's providing certain services, and she would like to submit for a tender offer for her dad company. So in that way, the sister will disclose that, okay, well, I am the daughter of the chairman, and I am the sister of the CEO. And the CEO will say, and the chairman and the board of directors and the organization, we have no issue. we are going to do business with you. So everything is clear. They say sunshine policy. Everything under sun is fine, as long as it's disclosed. But the issue here, if it's not disclosed. If it's not disclosed, that's considered a big issue. So what you need to do for you, if you are working inside the organization as anti-fraud professional, an internal auditor, or a person working in compliance to ensure that these fraud schemes will not happen. They say we need to have the proper internal controls in place to prevent and detect fraud. One of the most important way for us to prevent fraud is what we call segregation of duty. You need to make sure the person who authorized the purchase different than the person who will receive the goods, different than the person who will record and handle the payments. So in that way, if someone have control over all that, he can manipulate the whole process. Another thing, you need to ensure that we have inside our organization what we call hotline, reporting line. So they can report inside the organization all the aspects related to someone inside the organization actually taking advantage of the process. Someone will call the hotline and report him. Or if the vendor trying to bribe our employees will call the hotline and report them or file proper reporting based on the right channel inside the organization. Or if one of our employees is calling the vendor, demanding a payment for him to do his job or demanding a payment to manipulate the process, now the vendor can call our hotline and can report these employees. So in that way, we take the proper action against them. And there are so many other controls, we can implement inside our organization. Like I said, I'm not going to go in depth in this session because this is just an info session, introductory session. In case you would like to get more depth information, you can join our contract and procurement course here in Burj Al Arab or virtually anywhere in the world. And we will be more than happy to discuss all this in details. We are going to spend 16 hours. Look, this session is only 50 minutes. We are going to speak about 16 hours about every type of fraud and every scheme and every aspect, and discuss it with example and with the practical exercise. So I highly recommend you, if you or in your organization, someone interested in joining this class, to join us either in Burj Al Arab here in the last floor in the 7 Stars Hotel, or in virtually anywhere in the world. And later of the year, like we said, we will do another course in Malaysia. Now, after you go and implement these controls, what you need to do, once you implement these controls inside your organization, now later we need to go and investigate any cases of fraud. In case someone reported that a person is receiving a bribe from vendor to facilitate the process, then or someone actually influencing the process, we need to, as investigation department or as investigation team working inside the organization, we need to look at these allegations. There are so many allegations comes inside the organization related to this. Why? Because they say based on the ACFE report to the nation, billing is the most frequent and the highest type of risk that usually can happen inside the organization. So if we receive a call from the hotline saying, oh, hi, Ahmed is actually receiving a bribe from the vendor to facilitate business, this is not enough for us to launch an investigation against Ahmed. This is also only someone reporting some information. What we need to do as investigation team or investigation department, we need to go and verify these allegations. So in that way, maybe we can send our audit team to audit the operation of Ahmed. We can look at additional information available for us to be able to obtain evidence. Remember, you can't conduct any fraud investigation unless you have evidence. Someone calling the hotline reporting fraud and corruption is not enough. Someone calling us and telling us the vendor win the contract because he's a friend with the guy creating the specification, that's not enough. We need to verify these allegations. After that, once we have the evidence, we can launch our investigations properly. And once we launch the investigation, especially in the issues related to purchasing contract, related to procurement process, you need to understand not all the time from legal standpoint, we can take legal action against the employee inside our organization or against the vendor. Sometimes we don't have the ability to do that. Why? Because we don't have all the legal elements. What's the meaning legal elements? When you are handling issues related to conflict of interest, related to bribery, related to issues related to fraud, you need legal elements for you to prove it. Give you an example. Someone called us, like what happened now, and said Ahmed is receiving bribe from the vendor. We went, we examined everything, and we discovered, yes, actually Ahmed received the bribe from the vendor. We have evidence that Ahmed received the bribe. Good. So now this is not enough for us to take a case against him for doing fraud and corruption. Why? Because when we are looking at commercial bribe, what are the legal elements? The legal elements are four. Number one, we need to show that actually someone received the bribe, which is our employee. Yes, he received the bribe. Good. That's number one. Number two, we need to show that actually this is done with intention. He didn't receive it by mistake. The vendor didn't give it to him by mistake. It's done with intention. Okay, it's an intentional act. Okay, done. We proved it's intention. He received it with intention. Number three is to influence his business decision. Then we discover Ahmad is not involved in the tender offer. Ahmad is not involved in the need specification. Ahmad is not involved in anything. And Ahmad didn't help the vendor with any way. Just the vendor, he likes Ahmad and he give him a gift. The gift is significant. Like he give him like a very nice watch around like $5,000. But why he give it to Ahmad? Because he likes Ahmad. He give him the gift. So now this is not a case of fraud. This is not a case of corruption because we couldn't prove that this influenced his business decision. Because number three, it should influence, and number four, business decision. So we have two legal elements missing here. So you say, yeah, so what is the case that we are facing here? The case you are facing here is case related to compliance. Our compliance rule said, you as an employee, you are not allowed to receive any gift from the vendor. If you receive gift from the vendor, you are violating our compliance policy. So in that way, if you receive the gift and you didn't do anything, you didn't influence the organization, you didn't make any decision based on that gift, now we consider you violate the policy of the organization and we take the proper action against you based on the policy. But the policy also said, if you receive gift from the vendor and this gift influenced your decision, we consider this corruption case and maybe we can take legal case against you and we consider it as a fraud. So see, so now the person didn't meet all the legal elements, so there's no legal case. That way you only need to follow your policy and you need to take the proper action. But also you can take the same action against the vendor because the vendor, you make him sign contract. I hope you are making him sign contract saying you are not allowed to give any gifts to our employees. If you want to give any gift, you need to disclose it. And the vendor didn't disclose that gift and he gave it to the employee, but he didn't influence his decision because also you tell the vendor, if you give any gift and this influenced the decision of the employee, we consider you are doing corruption, we may take legal case against you. So the same thing here, you go, the proper compliance action need to be taken against the vendor. Maybe we send him a warning letter, maybe we terminate the contract, if this is based on the specification, or maybe we tell him you have to follow certain procedures. This is why we need to go and understand always when we are handling any fraud allegation, what are the proper actions that we need to take against our employees and against the vendors to ensure that this investigation handled and done properly. But where is the trick here? The trick here is very simple. If Ahmed came to the organization and he disclosed, hey, hi, I just received a call from the vendor and the vendor told me he is giving me a watch and worth $5,000. Once he disclosed it, there is no action can be taken by us. So the main issue with dealing with contract procurement, purchasing, corruption, fraud is the concept of disclosure. If I disclose that I own this company and it's going to be a vendor, okay, خلاص, no conflict of interest. If the vendor that I'm doing business with, he give me a gift and I disclose it to the organization will take the proper measures. They can say, you can't accept it from the vendor. They can say, yes, you can accept it and give it to us, or you can accept it and keep it. But even if the vendor offered you a gift as an employee inside the organization and you don't take it, you have obligation to disclose it to the organization. So disclosure is there either if you take it or you don't take it. You need to go back to the organization and say, I have to disclose that I got an offer to get a watch and I rejected. I just want you to know. Otherwise, the vendor can use it later against you. Maybe he's recording the phone calls and he's going to use that phone calls against you to cause a drama, saying he called you and you were thinking about it. This is why you didn't inform the organization about the aspects that happened. So this is what we discussed over the last 1 hour about all the different fraud schemes that can happen from the minute we start the need specification until the end, until the vendor deliver and issue the invoices and we made the payment for him. I hope that this session gave you an overview of the main aspect that you need to consider and give you a motivation for you to join our upcoming course in Persian Arab and get in-depth more understanding about the aspects in details. To get your CBE for attending this session, you can click on the link below in the description and you can enter your name and email and you will get 1 CBE hour for attending this session. We are always here to deliver for you the best training possible at the highest quality possible. This is why we are delivering 7-star training for you in Burj Al Arabs, the only 1 7-star hotel in the world. Until then, take care and hopefully we'll see you in our upcoming sessions. Goodbye.